Okay, let's begin. So, episode, what episode are we on right now in the bill? 3. Okay, when you raise 3 fingers, nobody hears you.
We should probably turn off the video just to realize there's some stuff that's not translate.
Episode 3, and we have a really, really special guest. I don't want to say more special than the last one, but
Who was your last guest?
okay, you're not supposed to talk yet, but okay, all right.
Sorry.
It was Josh Hayes.
Oh, that's solid. Okay, fair enough.
Special, more special than the last one. We have Chris Ulrich, which is basically Chris and his family and his race team are, I think, in my opinion, are considered the patriarch of motorcycle road racing in the U.S. I mean, everything they did for the sport and the way they're so influential and instrumental in building the sport really from scratch and participating and helping and raising money and doing everything they can. They just live and breathe motorcycle road racing. And I have an intro here, Chris. So your title right now is the Roadracingworld race editor. You're the talent scout / vice president of operations for Motoamerica, and you're the vice president of racing operations in Team Hammer, which used to be M4, or what's?
So Team Hammer is the parent company. It's been around since 1980, and we don't, one of the reasons why we can continue racing, right, is we sell sponsorship. The team's income structure has always been sell sponsorship, go racing. So it's not something. So when you have that, right, you tend to put the parent company aside and put your partner ahead. And so that's whether it was in the first year, I think they figured that out, was 1986 when they got a Suzuki deal and became an official Suzuki team. And it changed from being Team Hammer to Team Suzuki Endurance. And then it went from there to Team Valvoline, Suzuki, Valvoline, and Go Suzuki. And we've had a few different, partners. We had Chevron very early on, Geico Motorcycle, Monster Energy, all these partners, right? We didn't really care that, okay, this is Team Hammer. We cared that Monster Energy or Geico or Valvoline, Valvoline was a 14-year relationship. M4 has been a 20+ year relationship. We have some new partners coming on for this season that'll be announced pretty soon that you'll see, and that we plan on everybody to be a long-term relationship because we try to make sure they get the exposure they need. So it's Team Hammer. It's the base company. It's founded by my father, John Ulrich, and his partner Bruce Hammer. And it took Hammer's namesake, but unfortunately he got paralyzed in 1982. And subsequently left the sport. And he runs a business now up in the Bay Area that makes special products for people with disabilities. So he's gone on to make a great career for himself. So anyway, that's Team Hammer. It's just name on the contract, and then we promote our partners.
And then you got pretty much riders that turn to be the best in the world, or some of the best in the world riding for you. And I mean, the list goes on, but the last one that came through the ranks and went through your team was SDK, right?
Yeah. Sean was, we've been following Sean since he was racing in Mexico, and we have some friends, Robertino Pietri and Roberto Pietri, the family. Robertino ran the Italtrans Moto2 team, and he was my teammate back in the mid-2000s. So we always kind of kept in touch with a lot of stuff, and because he's my eyes over in Europe, and we were watching Sean, but we didn't know him too well. But had our eye on him, and he was getting out of Red Bull rookies and kind of in a bad spot, and so flew him over here for a test, and then decided to invest in his career, invest in him, and he paid us back. So very good, and then he's gone on to his next step. So I'm proud of the role we played in Sean, and also you got John Hopkins that came through our program in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Ben Spies, and
I,
Schwantz.
I
We can
remember. I
blame,
remember
blame a little bit of claim of Schwantz, but not too much.
I remember he did something he shouldn't have, which he never told you that he couldn't race. There was a story. His hand was, I think his thumb was out, and he couldn't race for a season. Hopkins, right? Is that what happened?
Uh, no, he when his second term back at us, so we launched his career, got him over there, came back. He had some problems with his wrist that weren't disclosed, but you know, water under the bridge. He did a good job at the end of the season, and you know, it's all good.
Okay. So out of all the talent that went through your ranks, how would you rank Nabil Kabani?
Oh man, tough call. Academy class of 2016.
No, later, I think. No,
17?
second year, I think it was second
16.
or third year. 16 then?
No, you
Wow,
were in
it's
the
been
group
that
with
long.
Daniel. You were in the group with Daniel, the group afterwards. But Daniel and Greg
Yeah.
one group, and then yeah, did a good job.
He's a good
Good
student.
student. Good student. You know, got fit. He just has poor motorcycle choices.
Oh, oh.
I'm gonna break my bike in for half a day. It's good.
I knew that was coming.
on the dyno.
So which bike did you bring to the academy? The MV or the R6?
No, actually, he had the R6. That one ran, and then he
It was the
decided to
R6.
bring yeah. Then he decided to get an MV after that, and then he decided to spend half a day or the whole day breaking it in
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
racetrack.
And then I, broke in the engine really well until it broke, and now I have an 800 engine though. It's homologated again. But I'll tell you, we got to talk about Chris as a coach here. Besides his other illustrious accomplishments, he's by far one of my favorite coaches. He's the only one, and I've done a lot of coaching in the past with a lot of different people. Of course, never improved, but thanks to Chris, I did. I think I dropped 8 seconds or 10 seconds in Fontana after the academy. But Chris was the only one who looked at everything. Like they'd look at your lines, your riding. He repositioned my foot pegs. He was looking at the body position when I'm on the bike and on the pit, just to make sure I'm comfortable. And it was completely rounded. And of course, at the beginning, you were talking about conditioning. It was like 3 words came out of his mouth. It's like, okay, you got to do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 100 lunges every day. And it did help. It did help tremendously. I don't think I've improved much since. I'm ready for another academy.
There you go. Boot camps. You think about those, all that stuff and being well-rounded on the coaching side. A lot of people get these bikes and it's like, okay, they put rear sets on, they got the rear set in some wonky position. They don't really think about where everything goes. And you underestimate the power of your feet on the motorcycle and how much that being able to move, back and forth and the role your feet play in the bike and having them in the right position. When I raced, I decided I was going to move my weight forward on the bike and get it a little bit farther forward from not from the pivot, but just, a little bit farther forward towards the front of the engine. Threw my foot peg and I was able to, we were having some traction problems on the CBR 1000 while I was racing the thing. And, I was able to reduce some spring rate by moving my weight forward and allow me to position my body a little bit more over the fuel tank. I could still rotate the bike and get everything I needed to do, and I was able to reduce the real spring rate, so I had some more traction, more drive grip, and I subsequently went faster. So it's at that level that really helps. But then at say the track day level, the amateur club race level, just being comfortable on the bike so you can move side to side that's a big thing, because then you take the brain power or the attention that you have on your foot or trying to move back and forth, or this is kind of uncomfortable, kind of weird, feeling odd, then you eliminate that and they can think about riding a motorcycle.
Tell us about your adventures in air fencing and how you're helping Motoamerica and other races just keep racers safe and alive.
Yeah, so the Roadracingworld Action Fund, that was founded in 2001. was part of my father's Take Back the AMA campaign. And when he ran for the AMA board, but he, he grew up in an era like my father, he's just kind of been in the business since 1970s, right? Been selling stuff to different magazines and worked at, Cycle World, Cycle, Motorcyclist, Cycle News, worked at all the other major players in the business, the motor journalist business. That was kind of an era where we were killing off a lot of people, maiming people. Track safety wasn't at the forefront, and the general attitude during that time was like, hey, if you don't like it, you can leave. And so, we get through the 80s and obviously we have a race team, right? You see a few of our guys get hurt, like our co-founder, Bruce Hammer, he crashed into a guardrail on the outside of the carousel at Motoamerica in May of 1982. Then in 1988, another rider, Russell Falk, he was, fatally injured at Sonoma, but there was Sears Point back then, but now it's Sonoma Raceway. There used to be a big old embankment on the outside of turn 8, and he hit that. So 750 augured the thing in. And then plus there's tons of other guys, right? Tons of guys that go through that. And anyway, as the years went, the safety got a little bit better. But now it was like, okay, we got this air fence stuff. Why don't we have more? I mean, AMA Pro at the time in 2001 had a few sections, and we were asking to get more and more because, obviously we have this new technological advancements in rider safety, and it's an easy one, right? It's the cost isn't that high. You can put the stuff up and take it down, and it makes like tracks like Road Atlanta actually usable. And so they told them, whatever, no, we can't get it, and if we're gonna get it, we don't need it. We're gonna get it. It's gonna be the end of the season. You can't do anything about it. So we put an editorial up on Roadracingworld.com and said, hey, look, I'm buying a section of the stuff. Which I think at the time a section was somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. And it's been 21 years since we did that. So laid out his own money. Said, okay, I'm buying a section. Who's with me? Next thing you know, we got Yamaha in, we got Suzuki in, we got regular donors, fans, industry types, and we're buying sections. And, instantly we ordered the stuff and we had it deployed. I don't know the exact amount of time, but it was pretty short, right? I think that went out from the time of that to deployment. The first deployment was that we had it delivered and it was deployed at Road Atlanta for the spring race. So that was right around probably the end of April, maybe early May. And we had it deployed by then. I was thinking, I don't know how many sections, 10 sections, 20 sections. I think he actually played on, there was Alpina and there was Air Fence or something like that. And they'd split and he played on the rivalry to get the sections sorted, which did a good job. And they got it done. And I talk about good karma. The first guy that went into that stuff was Grant Lopez, who was riding a Valvoline and Suzuki Form Extreme bike. And he went into the last corner of Road Atlanta. Used to be this really fast, it's fourth gear right-hander. I mean, it was like put the thing on your knee, go back to stop. And he augured the thing in over there, and it's a big giant concrete wall. And he hit air fence instead of a wall. And lived to tell the tale. He dislocated his shoulder, and he was able to race the next round. So, and then since then, man, you got all these stories. We built it up, right? We'll go back to the stories, but we built up the Action Fund, turned into a 501c3 nonprofit. And, now we deploy every section of air fence that's deployed at Motoamerica is owned by the Roadracingworld Action Fund. In fact, we just got some donations this year, about $150,000 through all the stuff that we did for the Action Fund, some private donors, the money I raised through two-seaters for them, all the fines, like you get a speeding fine and ticket, right? You gotta pay pay and the donation goes to the Action Fund, which is a great program too. And then obviously the two-seater, they sell tickets and then we raise money using two-seat rides at those races. And that was, I mean, we had some private donors, and one of the private donors was the CEO of Medallia, and I actually gave him a two-seat ride at Laguna. So hopefully I played a little role in that. But we own all those sections, and then we have accrued so much air fence that now CCS has a bunch of sections, and we've covered, through all my fundraising at Fontana, we've covered Fontana, or Auto Club Speedway. So everybody that goes to Fast Track Riders Day or Rear West, I mean, that's all air fence that was purchased by the Action Fund through fundraising, especially the two-seat fundraiser through at the end of the fall. And then, David Piles and Ahmad and those guys did a lot of fund matching, with that program too, and did a good job. But then we also have, AFM has some sections, Into has sections, the guys at Blackhawk. So, but through all that fundraising, right, we've been able to get the money, purchase it, disperse it, and we've saved countless lives. I mean, you look at just at Motoamerica stuff, like Kyle Wyman's crash at Barber a few years ago when he went back first into the air fence at over 100. And you got Yates. Yates had a pretty gnarly crash in some air fence at Sonoma a few years ago, back when he was racing in the late 2000s and mid 2000s. So, saved countless lives, right?
It's kind of funny because a lot of people talk, and you and your family, you just do, right? I mean, yeah, I'm buying this air fence. Who's with me, right? Here's the section. Let's start. It was the same with 2014 when we didn't have any racing, right? And your dad went like, yeah, we're starting a league. We're doing a shootout. Let's do 3 rounds, right? So it's kind of a pattern. You just you do, right? I mean, you do so much for the sport.
Yeah, you don't, don't talk shit, do shit, right?
Yeah.
Well, and the 2014 thing was, I remember it pretty well because I was racing professionally, Superbike, and I was, charge of a bunch of sponsorship sales and sorting out the TV for it. And so that we're on an airplane doing a shop visit, and we got this big sponsor from Geico Motorcycle, and those guys, that's a company, it's a non-endemic. They don't care if they don't have to be in motorcycle road racing to sell insurance policies. They want to be here if the conditions are right to get the amount of exposure. And for a company like that, it's all about TV and having a good TV package. Which, you see Motoamerica's got a good TV package, and now they're back doing some series sponsorship and some event sponsorship. But we're sitting on an airplane, and he's like, they got 5 rounds. That's not enough. They have no TV. It's not enough. We're going to do a race. We're going to do a 3-race series. Did a shop visit. I flew home. I had a friend that worked at Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil Products owns MAV TV, and got us a meeting with the president of MAV TV. Rolled in there. We didn't know anything about TV production, TV, how to get it on TV, whatever, right? It was like, walked out of there going, oh, okay, I get it. Called a few people we knew that did some TV stuff, found a packager, and ended up being Great White, and packaged it and raised the money from nothing to paying prize money. And paying the prize money was a really important thing to my father, because it was, prize money. Dude, you got to have, we got racing, we got exposure, but man, for everybody in there, you got to have some prize money, you got to have some incentive. And it was, I think I did the purse structure and my goal, I knew that the factory guys had bonus programs in their contracts. And so I had taken them, just to get some guys, the club race guys, and excited about coming, because we were actually going to club races, and we placed these races at a club race, right? We were a West race, an AFM race, and a Utah Sport Bike Association race. And and incentivize those guys getting in. You at least could get your entry fee back if you finish the race, finished in the whatever position. So, and I knew, like, you know, the factory guys that were showing up, okay, they had some bonuses stuck on the top of their contract, and kind of knew that my guys too had that kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay, look, man, we're gonna, you know, I hate to, we're gonna spread the love a little bit just for the sake of the sport, not the, you know, yeah. So we did it. I think the last sponsor that came in, we had the Geico Motorcycle supported it, Yamaha, Motorcorp, Suzuki, and then you know, a lot of other guys, Jet, a few other, and the last one that came in was a rye. I think my dad used the Blues Brothers pitch, "What a Mission from God," and we were able to pay prize money, so it was awesome, you know. Then it ran 18 times on MAP TV because the production was so good.
Yeah, it's funny. It's motorcycle road racing used to be so big. I think mostly because of the exposure, right? People saw it on Speed Channel and people saw it on NBC, and it used to take center stage. And now I don't know what happened, but millennials are not interested in it anymore. Networks are not interested in it anymore. It's weird because the sport is so exciting to watch as a spectator. Not to mention actually doing it. That I don't know what happened. I mean, a lot of people say it's the cost. The cost went up to race, but
Say on the, you know, look, there's no magic bullet, right? But the motorcycle industry in general has been, you know, kind of
yeah,
up and down.
they're not selling enough
Yeah,
road
no,
bikes.
probably not. But I mean, look, if they wanted to spend the money, they'd be here, right? The I think a lot of the decline was more or less sorted out when the handover between AMA Pro and then going to DMG. And DMG guys pissed a lot of people off, to the point where it was like, hey, man, I'm out. And Suzuki stayed the course, Yamaha stayed the course. We had Buell in there, you know. But the willy-nilly rules enforcement, you know, generally what those guys were doing just rubbed a lot of the industry wrong, right? And so when that budget gets taken away, or just they slash that budget, say if, you know, whoever was spending 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 million or whatever they are, right? And that goes and gets put into their supercross program, you ain't ever getting that back unless you got somebody that's in the business or in the building that's got enough steam that'll lay it out and go, look, we're going to go and we're going to use motorcycle road racing to promote the whatever line, CBR, the Ninja line, or the R line, GSR line. You know, I've seen it. You know, I think that a lot of people say, okay, sell on, you know, win on Sunday, sell on Monday's dead. No, it actually, I've seen it because, you know, I sell quite a few motorcycles for the race team, you know, and customer bikes, and we supply customer bikes to Altus Motorsports. This year, Michael Gilbert's racing one of my Suzuki GSR 1000s that we built.
I saw
That
it.
that customer base didn't exist for me until, you know, I was able to get the performance of the motorcycles, get the team performing, the riders performing to the point where we were winning. We won the 2019 Supersport Championship with Bobby Fong. Not only did the sales demand go up for that motorcycle, the cost that I could then sell a race bike for essentially doubled. It was insane. I was like, oh, okay, I've never sold a GSR 600 for that much money, but I'm in. And, you know, and it was like I always kind of looked at, it was funny because I'm being pretty candid on this stuff. Looked at what Graves was charging for stuff, right? And I was, man, that's insane. How the hell is he getting that kind of money? Well, he was winning. I was winning 2 races a year. He was winning championships, right? We got to the point where the bike was at the level we needed it to be, and we could do that. We had the riders. It was like, oh, okay, there you go. I get it. You know, same with other guys that are selling motorcycles. So selling specifically race bikes, high quality stuff, right? But if it doesn't have the performance, they're not going to sell it. So now there's you know, enough demand. I think there's going to be a lot more, you know, GSR 1000s on the grid. But I mean, that's kind of stuff that I started doing programs back in 2017, and I'm now starting to see the results from that type of program and stuff like that. So it you got to win, you got to have performance, right? But I mean, we're kind of getting off in the weeds. But generally, yeah, the effect that racing has on your high performance credentials if you sell a thing right. I mean, Yamaha played that really well with the R1, because I mean, you look at the previous model R1, the one that came out in 2009, that thing was a turd. That was the best selling 1,000 for years, and it's because they were able to successfully tie it to not only the MotoGP program but also their championship winning Yamaha racing team. So, and that put them right at the front. Whereas, the other guys that didn't have that type of program, didn't do as well. So I think you got to be here. And I think that, going to my own opinion, that all great impressions are local. And I don't think that, it's more impressive for those guys to watch a Sean Dillon Kelly or Cam Bobier or whoever it is to win on their home track, right? You go to Sonoma, or you race at Fontana, or you race at Red Atlanta, and holy crap, man, my guys are here. Big fan. Wow, how'd that guy go that fast? How are they doing 23s around Red Atlanta? And it's impressive, right? How fast those guys can go. And that's more impressive to the guys, and they want to go get out on the racetrack and emulate those individuals and have some fun. And that creates the brand loyalty. It's a lot more than, say, watching some dude over in Italy going around Magellan.
Yeah, which I heard. Yeah.
If they want it, but the point is, if they want to spend the money, they would spend the money.
So
but they're not going to. Currently, I think the big situation is they're not. Some companies are different than others. I know very well what's going on over at one. But the other ones that aren't actually in the paddock, right? You're not going to get that budget away from the Supercross program, especially one that's winning. And those things are packing 7.
And Italian bikes, I mean, they have really big budgets, and they're not spending it in Motoamerica or local races, right? You don't see Aprilias and Ducatis filling out the grids in Wera, right?
No.
It's starting. I do want to talk about current racing, but before we stray too far from the air fence, so Chris, for the 2.5 people that listen to this, to donate to the air fence program, I saw on your website, so roadracingworld.com/action fund, and then the PayPal address is rwaf@roadracingworld.com, right?
Yep. And,
okay. Perfect.
It's tax deductible because it's a non-501c3 nonprofit, and like I said, it not only benefits professional motorcycle racers, but it also benefits track day riders and the whole community that goes out to the racetrack. I think one note on that, we've done such a good job of normalizing having good safety and good air fence that now it's riders demand it, so it's worth it, and it's good.
Right. It's wonderful, and it's saving countless lives. So it's rwaf@roadracingworld.com, and also they can come to. You're still going to do the 2-up rides in Fontana?
Not sure, man. Since I moved, it's a little bit more difficult to run that fundraiser. But if you're going to a Motoamerica race and you want to donate, you can come up and do a direct donation and go for a 2-seat ride, and that's $350. And then if they also sell a $500 ticket package where you get a paddock pass and parking pass and all that stuff, and then $350 of that, around $350 of that goes to the Action Fund and the donation. So we run every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Our window, is between 30 and 50 minutes, so sometimes an hour, but. Yeah, you can get through a lot of rides in 60 minutes. So.
Do you have any funny stories you can tell us about the 2-up rides? And you can leave names out.
My wife hasn't ridden on the back of a motorcycle since 2005 because of the 2-seat ride. She shouldn't have. Man, we were just dating at the time. She shouldn't have stood me up. I had a date, find this date to go rent this nice magazine bike to go around the canyons. She stood me up. And I was like, oh man. Bummer. And then we got dating and hey, we're going to go to the racetrack, I'm going to get some 2-seat rides, try to raise some money. She said, okay, we'll go. Suited her up. Both my sisters went, and she thought we went around the oval at Fontana, but I mean, it was one of the rides where like straight out of the pits, me on the deck in turn 3. She ain't been on the back since. So, very supportive of my racing when I raced and my career afterwards, but hasn't been on the back since. So maybe I should have. A few reporters doing some stuff, art guys. I mean, I've been on a couple 2-seat rides. I went on one with Scott Russell and one with Kyle Wyman to get a taste of my own medicine, so I do know how it is. So, yeah, I mean, now we've gone. The program's evolved from just being a bunch of, not scaring, but giving media, the A-ticket ride, the gnarly ride, so they can actually speak properly about our sport. That was the foundation of that program. It started in 2001. It's morphed into a fan experience, media experience, fan experience, and then a fundraiser for the Action Fund. And the goal is we want to create fans. We want to give a once in a lifetime experience. But we also want them to get off the bike and still like the sport and like us. So, if you're keen, we go. If you're, a little more apprehensive, then we'll build into the ride, but you're still going to be, we'll do some wheelies and skids, and you're going to definitely go fast when people are watching.
So think about it like the NASCAR experience that they give to fans, only fast, right?
Yeah, faster with no cage.
No cage.
We have all the gear too for the Motoamerica stuff, right? We have 30 sets of leathers, 30 helmets, all that stuff. So we have all the gear if you want to go, and if you're worried about COVID stuff, we do sanitize it after every ride. So
of course, we're all worried about the flu, right?
Yeah.
But the experience is awesome. I mean, I've brought friends who've done it. I've done it myself. If you're a fan and you want to go on a roller coaster ride and you've never ridden a motorcycle or just ride them mildly, it's a whole different world. And if you're an advanced rider or a track rider and you want to really see how fast a bike can go in the right hands and the G forces that you should be able to experience, I mean, honestly, it's a great way to make a step forward in your riding. Yeah. Now that you guys are doing it at Motoamerica, that's kind of awesome because you get to experience the tracks that you probably will never ride.
Yeah, it's for the track day guy, right? That fundraiser was so much fun because we go blowing by some people with a passenger, and they come in, pay the donation, get on the back, learn a few things, and go back out on their own bike and go faster. So that was fun. And then the bucket, it's kind of the bucket list deal at these races, at the Motoamerica races, because you can go out there and like the fans are there. They're on the side of the track. We're doing this at lunchtime, or we're doing the end of the day, and they're still there. They're still watching. They're cheering. Doing the wheelie thing and all that other stuff. So it's definitely, you get that kind of electric environment that you get at a live sports event, and it's especially more intense because you're on the back of the bike ripping around.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're talking about Motoamerica. What's your prediction for this year?
I think chaos. No.
I was gonna go there next.
You don't want to say the G word.
I think the 600 class, the super sport class is going to be pretty. I don't know. It's going to be. I don't know. I say chaotic. I guess. I'm very curious to see how they're going to regulate the. Do the balancing, right? I'm part of the process right now because I'm homologating the GSR 750 for that category, and so we've designed the ride-by-wire throttles, and we're doing all that other stuff that we need to do to get the thing homologated and submitting all that. So we're also developing a next-gen GSR 600 for that, so I know what power that makes too. So it's like we're going to end up racing 750s whenever it gets homologated, but. Man, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to end up, right? And honestly, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm a little bit apprehensive. Superbike, that's a tough class. It's a tough class to compete. So if we talk about the program that I run. I think the thing that's been missing the last few, excuse me, last few talk about the flu, right?
Yeah. Let me go get my mask. Hold on.
Yeah,
The Kong flu.
the last few seasons, I think, you know, that super light stuff's been a pretty big eye opener for us. And big thing that you got to do with that, you know, no matter what your rider is or what level you think you are, you got to test. And so, you know, we got a more extensive testing program for this winter, you know, preseason. So the guys aren't coming off the bike cold and testing a track that isn't the most ideal. You know, obviously I left a few bikes in California just so we could have, you know, access to better tracks and better weather. So our riders will be announced pretty soon. So I think there's going to be some surprises there, or maybe not some surprises. I don't know. I guess the internet knows everything. You know, that's a tough class, dude. You got to race against Stamboli, you know, at attack, and you got to race, you know, the HSB guys, or, you know, back or buying Ducati stuff over there or whatever they're doing, and bringing out Petrucci, and then there's some nascent BMW teams that are coming, that some alleged big names. So whatever, man. You know, we got new crew. You know, we got some new crew guys. We got some old crew guys. We got some different riders, and on our end, you know, if we execute well and we do what we need to do, we'll be competitive. And yeah, it's.
I think we saw big names come and go, right?
Yeah.
Over the
Just
years.
because you're a big, I mean, I think that the aspect of Petrucci coming, we'll talk about the big name that's super limited. I mean, that guy's a badass. You know, he's more of a badass than Boz. So, you know, Boz, everyone was, oh, Boz is going to come over and kick the shit out of everybody. He didn't win a race, you know, and he finished fourth in the championship. So, and then he goes back over to, you know, the World Superbike Championship and gets on the podium right away. So there's something to be said about being able to ride our spec tires and ride our tracks. And I mean, if you look at Jake Gagne, nobody on earth thought that he was going to do what he did this year, right? You look at what he did last year, in 2020, you know, before being Cam's teammate, and, you know, I mean, Cam was pretty dominant, right? But you look at what Gagne did, you know, it was like, oh, that no one expected that. And, you know, maybe Gagne did, you know, because he did the work and, you know, those guys, but that was a surprise, you know, you know, but yeah, he's the favorite, right? Because he's the guy. Won 17 races last year. So I expect Scholes to be there. I expect Cam Peterson to be there most of the weekends. And then, you know, expect both my guys that are going to be there. You know, I think, I mean, I will say we're bringing one guy as a rookie in. So he's going to have a big learning curve. But the other one's, you know, a Motoamerica champion. So I expect him to be up front. So, you know, on the super sport side, we've already announced that Sam Walkoff and Escalante there. So I expect those guys to be at the front too. And we're taking them to Daytona 200. So I expect them to be at the front at that race. So, you know, we got a lot of years and a lot of time in that GSXR platform, because it's been around since 2011. So refined it. We know the window very well. We know the engine very well. And heck, I mean, even the cam we just figured out how to use. It was like we're going through the old stuff we had and we found some new stuff. It's like, oh, bingo, that was good. So
yeah, I was going to talk.
You know,
I was going to ask you about how the GSXR is dealing with. I mean, I remember Tony Elias just winning everything on the GSXR back when Josh was running it, and then they made a change in the rear tire, and then he stopped winning, and then you guys got the bike along with Elias, and I heard he was just pulling out swing arms every race weekend, trying to figure out what's going on with the rear. So did you guys advance? Was it just his style that didn't fit the bike or the tire? What kind of advances did you guys make since Elias?
the geometry is a little bit different. You know, Tony comes from Grand Prix, man. Like, look, you can't. We're gonna flat out full respect to Tony Elias, world champion, really great rider. Um, I'm not sure we got the best version of him. I mean, once he told me he was leaving the team at the end of 2020, his results got a lot better. I think it was kind of a relief, and he started just gelling and getting going. So that was really nice to see, because it was like, come on, I know you're better than this. How do we get the best? And look, Tony's setting was a bit different than most. Very long, very low motorcycle because of where it came from. And that didn't really have a good swing arm slope on it and didn't create grip. And I mean, the big way, how do you create grip? You have pitch, back and forth, front and back. That creates grip, puts load on the tire, creates grip. And, when we raised the bike, he wasn't a super big fan of that. We had a couple different swing arm versions too that we made one ourselves. We had Suter make one, and we had the factory one. So yeah, I mean, it was a tough situation, I think, coming from what the factory was and where they put everything and then the changeover and all that. We put the best crew that we had with that particular program, kept his electronics guy, and maybe it was all in his head, I don't know. But I mean, look, at the end of the year, he pulled his thumb out and he started doing some great things. He led some races, had some poles, and you can't diss his talent. Maybe it was just a situation that wasn't so great. But I mean, on the other hand, we had Bobby Fong in the garage next door, and he was finished on the podium, winning races, and just getting on with the job. So 21 was a little bit more difficult for us. We only won one race with Cam in the wet, but Bobby was kind of up and down. But I mean, look, we figured a couple of things out with the ECU during a winter test in October, and a couple of things with the swing arm. So we have two or three things to try now and move that forward. And we'll work on that. We'll work on some consistency and get these guys on the bike more. So it's going to be the little things that matter. So we'll see how it goes. But look, I mean, if going back to like the racing part, right? Just because some dude from Italy's coming over, or this guy or that guy or this brand of bike, is supposed to do something, it doesn't mean when you actually the lights go out, that's actually what's going to happen. Because I mean, if that was the case, then you could just save a shitload of money and stay home and just talk shit on the internet. So yeah, you never know. Like in 2020, we had no idea that ZX6R in the hands of Richie Escalante was going to be as potent as it was against our bike with Sean Dillon Kelly, who was arguably the favorite going in the season. We got our butts kicked all year, and honestly, I don't think that weight change, that weight change maybe did a few things, and we did lighten our bike the next year, but I mean, the race was close, and there was no telling who was going to win week in, week out. It was just the guy that wanted it more or had the setting a little bit better, or wasn't injured or whatever. So, and obviously when we show how much respect we got for Richie, we went and hired him. So it's, like I said, those are two scenarios where what was supposed to happen didn't, because the guy that we thought was going to win in 20 didn't, and the guy we thought was going to win in 21 didn't. So it was like, you just go back and you work your ass off and go race. So, I mean, I'm sure we're going to see some surprises in that superbike category. So, I'm sure we're going to see some surprises in the super sport stuff too, whoever did their homework and's got their handle on it the best.
And has a little bit of luck, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would draw your attention. Which bike dominated the Jerez test for World Supersport?
I don't know.
MV Agusta.
Was it a next gen or was it open?
Well, no, I think it's the current bike. They just put an 800 engine in it.
Yeah, but they got the solo ECU and they knocked the throttles down and all this other stuff.
It's different when the factory's running it, right? Because
yeah,
they'll change an engine every round, right? So
I don't know if there's engine limits. you know, but like
There's limits, and actually there's bigger limits. They're tighter for the bigger engines.
yeah, the next gen stuff.
It's like 3.5 engines every 5 races, and the other guys are like 2.5. But they got the first and the fourth place. So Keenan Sofuoglu rode because the Ken couldn't make it apparently. He had COVID. And then you had who next? Yamaha. They didn't run Ducatis, unlike the US. They didn't run Ducatis in the test.
I think that the mapping for the Ducati, the torque mapping over at in Italy for that, the place was getting done first or second week of January for that. So I'm sure the maps aren't quite sorted out. I think the wire looms are, but the maps aren't. So that's coming. I don't even know. I don't know when the 750 engine's going on yet. I know it's there. So and then I shipped it. So yeah, it's quite a process, you know, and I'm like I think they got a handle on torque mapping part and how they're going to regulate it, but you know, how it actually gets applied and executed, you know, I guess I'm leery about it, but we'll see. I mean, the deeper I get into this project, you learn a few things. And I know quite a bit generally from all that stuff, but it was like just, you know, a lot of waiting around. So.
Yeah. So we're not sure Herring's going to win race 1 in Motoamerica.
You never know.
I'm like, the guy's running 1,000. How can he not win?
Yeah, you know, you think about what's going on. It's we've just gone back to like the, you know, early 2000s, you know, mid 90s superbike rules. 750s versus 999. What it was 888
yeah.
Ducati 916 955. What was the displacement of the last Tesla Strata engine? That was 955. 999.
I think
998.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 999.
998. Yeah. Well, okay. The test. Yeah, because that was the 998. Because that was.
It's funny, all those races where you got all those motorcycles that really don't belong on the track with each other. I mean, I saw the last round, the Wera round in Vegas, and it was Harleys against SV's 650s, and you would see the SV just goes by the Harley in the corner, and then the Harley just takes them, you know, in the straight, right? And you're looking at it and you go like, okay, yeah, they both have 2 cylinders, but do they really belong on the track with each other? I mean, you're not measuring ability of riders. You're not even getting good racing here. You're just, you know, getting something that more suited to a track day.
In this case, though, you have, you know, so you've always had like the V twins always needed a displacement advantage to keep up with a 9.4 or a 3-cylinder, and so. In this case, at least you have the same style of motorcycle. So the V2 is, you know, what Ducati describes as like a super mid, right? So it's super mid. So, I mean, generally, if you go off rear rules, right, it's a heavyweight now. And you got the leader class or the open class and whatever. But yeah, it's their replacement for the 899, right? And we have 959, and then we just went straight to V2 because obviously they phased out their larger capacity, their larger displacement V12s. You know, it kind of fits in that category of 750. It fits in the category of the MV800 because it's kind of like the old school heavyweight superbike type deal. You know, like I said, like it's 1,000cc twins racing 750cc inline fours. So it's. The 636 should fit in pretty well with that, because like, look, you go back in history, you have Tommy Hayden who won the 750 Supersport race at Daytona in 03 on a 636.
I think so.
That might have been 02. No, it was 03 because we went to Fontana. I remember I was riding for the Valvoline Suzuki team at the time, and I remember us getting hauled over to Suzuki, all the 750 guys. We got yelled at. Hell, I got smoked. I crashed and broke all my ribs, you know, so I was just sitting in the back anyway. But yeah, that bike, I mean, granted, we're a few generations away from the particular bike that Tommy raced, but that bike's going to be there. So, and then you look at what a R6 is capable of making and doing, right, with the velocity stacks and all other stuff, and that's a pretty potent bike. I mean, the reason I chose 750 too is because I mean I raced a grave spec R6 in real super sport trim, right? 16, 17, 18, no, 16, 17 before I changed the rules. In 18, they went back to more super stock style rules, got rid of velocity stacks and ported heads. And, I knew what that bike's capable of doing. I knew where we were. Although this go around, we've actually made the engine a bit stronger than that engine down to 600, but still it's going to be a lot easier to get the power we need out of the 750 and then tone the thing back than it was going to be to build a 600 and be on the limit. So, and plus you get a little bit broader torque curve and all that stuff with the 750. So it just made more sense. I think that the ups and downs of the homologation process, and the information and all that, it's been more difficult than I was sold. More difficult than I was told.
It's going to bring
a
back
good job of selling that.
But the 750 is going to bring back memories.
Yeah, it's a great engine, great bike. I mean, man, I raced my bread and butter till they got rid of the class. So, and I think it's a strong bike for Suzuki too. It's a shared platform with the 600, so it's the chassis information we have is going to translate. So I'm not super worried about that. I'm just more getting our hands on the software and getting our hands on the ECU and going through, how the engine brake stuff works, how the ride-by-wire is going to work. I mean, it's pretty tricky, man. We built the ride-by-wire system for that. So I'm the sole supplier. Team Hammer Inc.'s the sole supplier for the ride-by-wire on that.
I was going to ask you where all the stuff's coming from. I mean, Suzuki Japan, Yoshimura Japan, Yoshimura US.
Team Hammer Inc.
So you're making everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Is it going to be on the
It
website?
is.
Can we buy it?
750 stuff. I mean, the ECU and all that stuff is going to come from Solo Engineering and Boulder Motorsports in Colorado is the dealer for that. So you have to get that because that's a spec dealer that comes from Italy. The early stages of this stuff, we're making the wire looms and figuring that out, and then we just commission the design and own the design for the 750 throttle bodies for the global deal. And we're homologating that, and we're homologating the cams for that. I mean, if you want to, it's not very well advertised yet because, frankly, it's very small in the racing side of things, and the guys that need to get a hold of me that are planning on going racing in Motoamerica have already got a hold of me. And once the list comes out, it'll be done. I mean, it'd be great to be able to say offer that kind of package to a track day rider or something like that has a 750 if they want to spend the money. But we got to walk before we crawl on that. Let's get the racing stuff sorted, get all the R&D done on it and dialed in, and then we can offer it to the public. So
For
the
sure.
general public.
For sure. I mean, you got to get the numbers, I think, from Yamaha, because they have two versions of R6 that they're offering for track day riders and racers, and just got to ask them, how much are you selling, right? And you got to figure out
more, I mean, the ECU stuff and all that. It's just we got to develop that. You got to get a good package. I mean, there are one of the reasons why people want to get that Suzuki 600 or the stock 1000s because it's winning. You get a turnkey bike, so it's you got to make sure if you're doing stuff and delivering this to customers that it's safe, which it is, and then beyond that, there's no bullshit, right? You talk about your experience with your bike, having buy a 25K bike and then having to spend all this money to develop it or get it to the point where you want it. Like, you can't have that. It's got to show up ready to go. Click the button. Okay, well, hey man, that's not steering. Okay, we'll just do this or do that, or okay, we can just change the spring for your weight and have fun. So
and good support too.
Yeah, we got to get, like I said, that homologation is going to be a process, and I'm optimistic we'll have bikes on the grid for Atlanta on that. If not, we'll race 600s. I know we're doing a 200 on 600s, so but they'll be competitive.
Where's the 1000 going with development? Are you guys still you still have seconds to get out of it, or is it kind of already developed and now it's adapting it to whatever rider you're gonna put on
The
it?
stock bike is, it kind of depends on the rider, right? There's a little bit to get out of it on the ECU. There's always, the rules kind of dictate some of that other stuff. Stock 1000, you're only allowed to do so much. But generally, what you get with that bike is a pretty well-rounded motorcycle that does a lot of things fine, good, right? Where other bikes maybe in that category do have a great engine, but the chassis is a little more difficult, or sometimes, or this bike has a very small setting window, or whatever. That thing, it's pretty broad setting window. Electronics work good enough, engine's fast enough. It's just, and the guy can get on it and be comfortable and ride it, which if you're comfortable on a motorcycle, that's 9/10 of the battle. You do amazing things if you're comfortable.
Did you talk to Suzuki maybe about their participation in World Superbike and how you can help them go in there? No.
No, that's their that's their plan. I'm focused on North America, and that's what we're doing. We're going racing here. The World Supersport stuff, yes, but it's more like the teams contact me because I have to supply throttle bodies and rod wire stuff for next gen. But beyond that, and they can globally too. But beyond that, it's kind of up to them. It's just support. And we just happen to, I'd say we probably a little lucked into it, or not lucked into it. We're the guys that are racing the bike and a platform in the U.S., and we're the guys that have been winning on it. So it's just kind of like, okay, well, those guys know what they're doing. Let them sort this out.
Yeah, I know the reason that I bought the Gixxer is because it's a little long in the tooth, because it's very developed, because there's parts to it, because I know the engine's not going to blow up, because I know it's a proven platform capable of winning, even though I can't win as a rider, right? It's just track days and, maybe a little bit light Wira, but would Suzuki keep you in the loop if something new is coming down the pipe with them, so you can start developing it early?
Yeah, I don't know. Depends on the situation, yeah, I'm sure if it's coming, there'll be some discussion, but otherwise, more people that know, more it becomes a liability. So I'm not here to wreck anybody's plans or big surprise, and look, we send our information back and they do what they need to do, and we're all professionals. So, and look, and on top of that, like, a lot of people are like, dude, there's a new Suzuki coming. There's a new Yamaha coming, a new Honda coming. Like, it's like, it ain't real till it shows up.
And just because it's new, it doesn't mean it's faster, right?
And just because it's new, it doesn't mean it's better, or what. I mean, it should be better, right? Because you have development, but like, it's just like speculation about this rider's going here, this rider's going there. It ain't real till the contract's signed. I know it is fun to speculate. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, dude, it ain't real. If it's real, it's gonna be here. Or, and look, you got a business plan for building motorcycles, and what are they going to amortize the cost of the unit, going out however many years, however they work it nowadays. And they got to do what they got to do to make money and all that. So it's, yeah. That being said, I mean, like, when you look at the R6 platform, really, the foundations of that motorcycle, we can talk about long on the tooth.
2009, right? 2008.
06.
6. Yeah, that's right.
I rode the first version of the thing in Qatar. Little stiff. They came out in 08, rode that version at Laguna, and that one had a little bit softer chassis in terms of, man, see how good my memory is. It was the lateral. I think they lightened up the lateral, lessened the lateral, a little bit of the vertical twist. The torsional stuff was okay. They just made it more user friendly, basically. And then they have the more or less carried that. They fixed the white rotor cockpit on that thing in 08 too. So then obviously we got new. Man, when we get new bodywork, we got new bodywork in 17.
Yeah.
17.
And new
And
fork.
a new fuel tank.
New fork.
Yeah, different fork. And that project was actually driven by the U.S. You know, the shape of the tank and all that stuff. Product plan in the U.S., which they got a pretty solid. On the magazine side, you look at it, they got a pretty solid product planning group over in Yamaha in the United States. So yeah, so that was driven by that. And then you look at R1 came in 15. They had kept the same general engine and chassis architecture for the next one, but improved the crank, changed the angle of the injectors, and a few other things. So I mean, like the R6 is still here. It's basically the 2006 version with some upgrades, more or less. Still a potent motorcycle. And then you got the Suzuki GSX-R 600 that's more or less the same thing from 2011.
So basically the Gixxer is the newest platform, right? From 2017.
I don't know, man. I can't remember when that thing came out with I can't remember when the ZX6 platform changed over. I just know, I mean, I did all the press launches for those other ones. I did the ZX6 one too.
2018, I think. They just lowered.
Okay, I did that press launch too. That was at Vegas.
Yeah,
So
they just lowered the price.
Upgrade.
I mean, all they did was lower the price. If under 10 grand, yeah. I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Under 10 grand, but they also made the thing meet Euro 4, pretty close to Euro 4 without ride-by-wire. Maybe it was Euro 5 without ride-by-wire. That was a pretty good task for that, and didn't really make the thing look that ugly. I mean, you look at all these new bikes now; they got these giant mufflers and these catalyzers, catalytic converters, because they all got to meet Euro 5. So it's kind of just ugly exhaust pipes.
It's kind of funny that it wasn't. I mean, the R1 wasn't selling for the longest time because there was no way to reflash it, right? And then someone found a way to flash it, and people started buying it again. But they really should sell motorcycles with the kit already, in a box saying, hey, if this is not street legal, it's going to void your warranty, but if you're taking it to the track, here's the software, here's the way to flash it, here's the racing exhaust, right?
Yeah, I think the hand-in software over the most guys, I mean, they got that pretty trick add-on, the YCCR. Whatever the data is, right? Not YCCT, that's the Yamaha chip control throttle.
The throttle.
And then we have the other stuff, but they have the data acquisition system. Someone in the comments can bag on me for not remembering that one. But man, they got some cool add-ons. But generally, I think that flashing ECUs and stuff like that is you got to have someone that really knows what they're doing. Otherwise, it could lead to some pretty big disasters. So I think they did sell an aftermarket kit that turned off like the headlights and all that stuff that you plugged in a few years ago, but I can't remember. I have to go read the story again because there's been so many. And you even look at the Hayabusa, like the Hayabusa's got, last time I did that press launch was 07, and then they just reintroduced it again with ride-by-wire and Euro 5 compliant and all that stuff. Same chassis and engine architecture.
Less power.
Just like, well, less power, but more usable power.
Yeah.
You look at that, right? Slightly, but that's all Euro 5 stuff. And hell, man, when you got 1,340 cc's, do you always need more? But like, do you really need more?
Yes.
You can still, man.
No,
I think
not if you hear the speed at which the Kawasaki went H2 with Tony Elias on the front straight in Fontana.
Yeah, it was 200 something, right?
Yeah. Something like 217 or 207.
He's too small.
I know. He's like $1 million worth of titanium.
He is aerodynamic.
Yeah. So you get to test bikes before we can even see pictures of them, for the most part, and you go to all the presses. So some anecdotes are what kind of bikes you like for what purpose, and the ones you've tested recently, like what's a good track bike, what's a good road bike, what's a good platform.
Generally, like, look, you can't really knock the fit and finish and of Japanese motorcycles, right? Because they're all generally okay. These things, sometimes they're not the most exciting, but look, you're going to be able to put the thing on. It's going to run. It's going to run for a very long time. You know, so but like, shit, actually, I haven't run the M yet on the BMW, but every version before that, and their World Superbike bike and some other stuff. That's pretty solid, right? The BMW, but it's a bit of a weapon. The GSXRs are all like, it's funny because I've ridden the first GSXR 1000 that came out in 01. That was like my second press launch, and to now, and they all have the same general feel, which is kind of amazing actually. Even though like because the chassis design's changed, but it's the same like sensations that the Suzuki gives you, nice rounded chassis and all that. So it's a pretty solid platform. I think so. You look at the riding part of everything, and so we'll look at it a little bit as a coach, right? So from Chris the coach, USMCA certified coach, by the way.
Yay!
I know, it's good.
Yeah,
That's another labor of love, right? That's I've been volunteering with the USMCA, United States Motorcycle Coaching Association, since 2016. It goes, you know, and to improve coaching, to create a better network of coaching. But anyway, the more volunteerism.
no, that's a great thing, because I remember we were going in a direction where everybody was becoming a coach, and that was getting to be pretty dangerous. I mean, if you went to 2-track days, all of a sudden you were a coach and you were having people coming and training with you, and I'm like, I don't think you're qualified.
Yeah. No, you gotta have some solid fundamentals. So I'd say like on the bike choice, right? You know, you got a couple ways you look at your bikes. You know, so obviously like Nabil, you're an MV fan. You like that MV. You like looking at it. You like riding it. Okay, for whatever it is, and that's kind of like your bike. And then you got Gal who, you know, went and bought an Aprilia because he thought it was going to be badass.
Two Aprilias, actually.
Two Aprilias, and then okay, went, oh, this isn't very much fun. I'm going to go back on a Suzuki. So it kind of comes down to a few different things, right? How often you ride, your skill level, you know, whatever, what you really like. Okay. And you know, and I think like what's going to make you like stare at it in the garage and go, I'm going to load that bike up and go racetrack because that's badass. I kind of do the same thing with bicycles.
Right.
And, but generally I think that the category that a lot of people and for the skill set need to take a very strong look at is that middleweight category or the middleweight twin category, because those are motorcycles that the average guy that sits at his desk too long, doesn't train, doesn't do anything, can get on the motorcycle, hit the button, and ride it most of the day, and it doesn't explode their head. And on top of that, they're not tired in 3 laps. So, which that isn't like, that's like the more, I feel like more common sense deal, right? More common sense recommendation for most guys. I'd say if you're a beginner coming new to motorcycling, that 400 to middleweight twin category is ideal too, because those are motorcycles that are fast enough to get you out of trouble or in, you know, but not a massive weapon like a V4R or a V4, you know, V4S or something like that, where it's, I mean, that V4S is a weapon. I mean, so weapon of a motorcycle. It's you know, so yeah, it's kind of those two categories, right? Because you can ride the motorcycle, it's not going to make your head explode. But then obviously you have some displacement as your skill set grows, and you think you have some displacement improvement. But you kind of look at what's been happening lately with some of the more, you know, higher displacement, you know, 1000cc bikes or that open class category. The latest versions of the Ducati, you've seen a thing come from at least a V4 version of Ducati. You've seen on the S side and the standard, you've seen it go from being a very, very aggressive motorcycle to now, okay, we have, you know, first gear and second gear and third gear have been reduced, and all the material they're talking about that is because, well, when we when we gave this motorcycle to a rider that's not Alessandro Villa, then they were able to go around the racetrack quicker than otherwise. Whereas the first versions, while the bike's, super high, super high end, but the first versions were too aggressive for the most of their customer base. So, and then you have that stuff on like thousands, and you have traction control in different modes on most thousands that can tame the power, which I think is a really great thing, because you can back everything down for riding on the street and then even riding on the racetrack. So you got to have that option, but you still have the massive gyroscopic effect of the crank and the engine weight and all those forces when you do come to the racetrack. So it tends to tire you out a little bit more. So, I don't know, I guess it's a long, convoluted way. I guess I'd definitely say that beginners should stay away from thousands until they get some experience and they can upgrade. Definitely, through the mid-range, right? The middleweight to the entry level of 400 or something like that. But then beyond that, once you get some experience, you think you can handle it, get what you want, just check your ego enough to be able to turn the TC up and turn the power down. So and get some training too. I mean, the training part's really important to all that, to the retention. That's one of the things I really like about going to fast track, because the mod recognizes that the training part is the real true key. High-end training and real training, like substantial training, not some dude in a vest telling you you're doing it wrong. I'm talking about real training. Is the key to customer retention and customer, bringing new customers in and then retaining those customers for long term. Because you have more education in how to ride a motorcycle. You'll make better choices on the racetrack. You crash less. Blah blah blah. All the great things that come with that. So
yeah, you don't end up like like a lot of my friends that have motorcycle stories, but they're not riding anymore because they got injured.
But going back to the actual of mods, I think the funnest thing I've ridden on the track lately was that KTM RC8C. Did that at Jerez.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, that was fun. That was Kramer. So Kramer built that thing. The Kramer built the chassis and assembles those things, and they got a KTM 890 Duke engine. So that was fun. It reminded me of a GP bike. I was pretty pumped about that. I raced 250s back in the day. I mean, granted, it is a 4-stroke, so it's not actually a GP bike, but I guess modern GP bikes are all 4 strokes, but a 2-stroke Grand Prix bike. But yeah, it was fun. Not so fast that it blew your mind, but just the right balance of power and handling and weight, and that it was a lot of fun.
Man, 2-strokes were fun.
Yeah.
No engine braking and.
Yeah.
Can you?
That's cool.
I'm sorry, you wanted to say something, Nabil?
Well, I was gonna we've been taking a lot of Chris's time already, and I was just gonna maybe talk for a couple of minutes about his thoughts on MotoGP this year, and then we should probably sign off in a bit.
Can I do my question? Can I do my question? Then we'll do yours, and then we'll finish.
Go for it.
All right. So, Road Racing World was one of the first magazines that I saw that when I was taking the WSMC course. They just put the magazine on the table and said, that's the magazine you want to write and you want to read. What are your plans? I mean, I see a lot of YouTubers that shouldn't really give their opinion about motorcycles, and a lot of influencers, air quote influencers, that really don't they don't have the level of writing that you guys do in the magazine, and they get a ton of views and a ton of people following them just because they're utilizing social media and they know how to navigate the digital world. So what are you guys' plans as a magazine that was always on print and now you got a website? You had a website for a while. What are your plans to go ahead and capitalize on on the new social media age
Yeah,
to figure out
it's tough.
sales.
I mean, that's a tough gig, right? Probably need to hire a consultant. I mean, not a consultant, someone knows what they're doing. Look, we're trying to push out as much stuff as we can that drives people back to our website, through our social media channels. That's the main goal, is to drive people back to roadracingworld.com. In terms of the video stuff, most of the videos on there are me, so either onboard lap or me jibber jabbering. We need to work on, I mean, for sure, I need to work on the videos a bit myself, right? Because it's, I was always a print guy, and then it's like, oh shit, Chris, we gotta do a video. And I'd say probably figuring out the balance between, trying to be as authentic as you can without absolutely pissing everybody off. I guess is I don't know if that's the best way to put that, right? But just working on being authentic about it. But yeah, I have a lot of education, and some of those influencers that do arrive at press launches, because we've seen them, are useless. Okay, they lack the skills and experience to actually evaluate the bike, but they get a lot of views. But how many guys, that are going to purchase the motorcycle are within that realm? I think that what one good thing that has happened with the advent of influencers is people have kind of gotten sick of listening to them, so they've gone back to guys that they believe are experts and have that high end knowledge, and that's what we provide. Especially, I've ridden super bikes and raced super bikes and developed electronics and understand, better than most about how all this stuff works. And I'm still, still learning, even that super bike project that we have, right? We're running some pretty sophisticated stuff in terms of the ECU, and it's still education. Now I rode the bike and I rode the bike in November 20, and just to see how it was, and learned a few things about how that's doing that, and then you understand what's going on in the background beyond that. So I don't know, it's a tough question. We got 3 dudes on staff, actually 2.5, because I'm half, because the rest of my time is spent running the race team. When my father and David Schwartz handle the editorial stuff, and then we got Michael Good just doing some stuff. So I think one is to stick to what we're good at, right? Which is some pretty ripping fast on boards and creating that content that people like to watch. And then second is try to be as authentic as they can, and maybe stand in front of the mirror and talk some shit for a while, and get everything a little smoother, right? So there's a lot of competition in that space. So I got to spend the time to really figure out what's going on. But right now, like, our bread and butter is print, and we're going to continue the print, and there's still room for us in that space as print. But there's all sorts of things we could do to complement that. So, but for sure, what we're going to try to make sure we're doing is riding these bikes as fast as we can, and evaluating them, and providing the in-depth technical analysis that people are looking for.
Yeah, there's for the longest time there was a problem with honesty in journalism, right? There still is, but not in motorcycle journalism. It's just that people would
everywhere else except motorcycling.
Everywhere else except motorcycling. that people would just you need sponsorship, so you're gonna say good things about the motorcycle, and then the next generation comes up, and all of a sudden the old motorcycles was it wasn't good anymore, and the new one solves all the problems that the old one all of a sudden has, right? And people don't know who to believe and who speaks the truth anymore. It's not just in motorcycles. So yeah. I think you guys were always super honest with someone, and if the motorcycle wasn't performing well, you're the first ones to say it.
Yeah, we've sat in a few meetings about stuff like that, So yeah, it is what it is. You're gonna lose credibility if you're not laying it out there, and yeah, not every bike is perfect, and sometimes bikes are
you can
bikes
say
are made for different guys, different different demographics or whatever, right? But I mean, like if you didn't really want that flaw brought out, you probably shouldn't have had a track press launch.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, we'll try our best. You know, it's a family run. Both these organizations are like the team is family run. It's founded in 1980, and the magazine was founded in 1990. So by my father. That's a whole other story. So family run operations, and you know, we're trying to make sure we adapt best we can with the times. So sometimes there's a bit of a lag, especially on the magazine side, but the race team side, we're pushing along and doing what we need to do.
I think what you need to do is learn a few dance moves and get on TikTok.
Yeah, another social media platform. I don't know how many there are, man.
Do you know TikTok passed Google in views?
No.
Yeah, Google is no longer #1 website in the world. It's TikTok.
You know, actually, my kid started a YouTube channel the other day with his buddies jumping his thing, and a couple of his videos got more views than some of the videos I did. And it was like, I'm fired. You should edit my videos.
Look, you're talking to the guy. I was one of the original software engineers that built Break.com, if you remember that website. And it had it just had funny videos, 2005, 2006, 2007, and we got 12 million unique a day just looking at those videos, right? So I kind of know what's going to be, you know, what's going to
in my next video.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk after this.
You know, yeah, I mean, I was just looking.
Sorry, to cut you off. I mean, half the time, it's like I look at the video and, oh man, I look like an idiot. I'm not gonna put that video out. I actually have 3 videos in the queue right now that I'm like, all right, dude, I just got to do it. I mean, they make sense. They're great, right? But Mr. Personality is the guy. And, you know, it's you know, the problem is like we're having a good conversation here. We're talking, you know, and I'm pretty relaxed and chilling out. And then like I go on the YouTube thing to be Mr. Presenter guy. And it's just like, come on, man. You know, so the struggles, like the struggles there. It's
Did you count how many times you say,
you know, it's you know.
You know
is the big word for me. But I, you know, like I get in this this environment, talking to Nabil, talking to you, and we're just shooting the shit about motorcycle stuff, and it's like, you know, you see, you know, yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's a bit different, so probably be a bit more relaxed. I mean, I got a pretty dry sense of humor on top of that, so that has a tendency to rub some people the wrong way. And
you made my girlfriend laugh. You made my girlfriend laugh the other day. We're on the couch watching videos of you, just trying to prepare for the interview, and you start talking about pumping the back shock. I forgot which channel it was, on the throttle, I think. And you said, you know, on a road bike, you know, whoever's on the back, she could be thin, she could be fat, depending on your flavor. And my girlfriend just starts cracking up.
It's got to be from 2009.
Yeah, when you put that Yosh linkage.
Turned out we just had the ride height. You know, there was a new bike, and we were going through the range of stuff, and we had the ride height so freaking tall. We had to lower the thing and get it to like that, which is more or less the way every Suzuki likes to be, is a little bit lower in the back and a little bit higher in the front. Magic. But anyway, yeah, that was causing my pump.
Yeah, so your problem in front of the camera. There's companies that are actually going to teach you. If you ever been to a software launch, one of the big companies, Twilio or Apple, their CEOs, they spend 3 weeks just getting coached how to be on camera and how to deliver that speech, right? So you might want to do that. Maybe Toastmasters. They have online groups.
Yeah, those.
Mr. Personality is coming out. or just
Well, we've
relax.
kept it PG so far, so I'm very impressed.
What's that? PG?
We've kept it PG so far, so very
I
impressed.
said the S word a few times. I know F words. So yeah, we've been good.
It's the internet. We can say whatever the fuck we want.
There you go. I mean, Nabil's hung out with me plenty of times at the racetrack, so I think every other word is. Yeah.
Nabil, you had a question. You had that last question. MotoGP.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you know, what's everybody's mind? Who's gonna win MotoGP this year, according to you? I need to do my little
Here.
piece.
Okay, so obviously not Valentino Rossi.
You should offer him. You should offer him to be a wild card over here, one round.
Man, that costs too much money. Man, look, there's a couple guys you can't really count out, right? So if you look at if Marquez is healthy, which is wrist or shoulder, I guess it was his, if his arm is good, right, and his shoulders are good, and his eye is healed. So if he's a healthy guy, pretty hard to count him out because I mean, look at the track record. You know, ups and downs. You know, even when he was injured, he still managed to win a few races last year before he. So he's hard to bet on. You know, hard to bet against. Definitely how the eye thing. You know, the eye injury affected him too. I mean, because that eye thing it's pretty important. And like say when you have a concussion, a gnarly concussion like that it ends up. The processor, right? Your brain can't keep up fast enough. It's not operating fast enough, so you end up getting really tired when you try to come back too early from a concussion. And a lot of times, so you know, as long as he's fully healed from that and his fitness is good, then he's going to be a weapon. I think Bagnaia is going to be quite quick. Hoping that Mir does something pretty gnarly and Rins finds his mojo, but whatever, and then you can't really count out like the two KTM guys, but they're a little inconsistent. So I think the guys that are probably going to be the most consistent are going to be Quartararo, depending if Yamaha made some improvements, Quartararo, Bagnaia, and Marquez, and then beyond that, it's kind of like maybe you'll get throw in a rip and ride from Oliveira or a rip and ride from Binder or something like that. I don't know. Miller's probably going to be thereabouts, but you watch him and you watch the nuts and bolts of Miller like from trackside and see he's not very precise in terms of his bike placement and consistency, and so I think that has compared to some of the other guys, and so I think that can be problematic. I just remember watching turn one at Valencia a few years ago, trackside, standing there watching Miller go through, and he was, a couple feet off the curb compared to what the other guys needed to do, and he was pretty inconsistent about where he actually was. So, if he can clean that up, that'll be good. But I mean, he rips, but definitely got a set of balls on him. I don't expect Dovizioso to do much. Maybe Morbidelli if he's healthy, but the top three guys are going to probably be Marquez, Bagnaia, and Quartararo, and all depends on where Quartararo's head is, and motivated after winning that World Championship and then seeing what Yamaha can do with the bike. In Moto 2, let's go to Moto 2. Sean Dillon Kelly and Cam Beaubier 1-2 every week. One can hope and dream. Well, actually, Sean Dillon Kelly, Cam Beaubier, and Joe Roberts. Coincidentally, two of those guys, Joe Roberts and Sean Dillon Kelly, both rode for Team Hammer Inc. and won races for Team Hammer Inc. They had played a significant role in their early careers. So, Beaubier, it's funny because we were actually trying to hire Beaubier between 11 and 12 to ride the 600. And we were talking to him, but we were waiting around for Martin Cardenas because we felt like we owed Martin. And, talking to him. And this is when we had the Geico Suzuki deal. And Beaubier's dad, Jeff, called up my dad and was like, hey, look, we got this offer from Yamaha. Well, since you called us first when you were talking to us, then we wanted to tell you, and be respectful and just, give you it. And my dad was like, okay, you got the Yamaha offer, you get in your van and drive down to Cyprus and go sign that deal. We'll figure it out. Worked out pretty well for him. So, we still won. We beat him in the championship that year. So I guess short-term gain, long-term loss. So, but he's done a great career. So didn't actually get to work directly with him, but I'm a big fan of Cam. So, but for sure, I would I think Sean's going to do well. He's got a very high work ethic, good talent. Not sure he's the most talented guy, but definitely high level talent. But if he lacks any talent, he works hard. Like, dude, like studies at home. His fitness is really good. Well-rounded fitness program, well-rounded mental program. I think he's in a good position. Very coachable too. That's a big key for everything. Joe, if Joe wakes up on the right side of the bed, and everything works good for him, and it goes the way that he believes it should go, he's going to be very, very good. So,
Wow, you're telling us the exact same things that Josh Hayes told us in a different way.
yeah, I think Cam's second year with him, they figured some things out. Crew chief last year figured some things out, some other stuff. It'll be good. Yeah.
Do you have any upcoming talent down the pipe that you keep your eye on?
Yeah, Sam Lockoff's good. Won a race last year. A lot of people had said to us, he's going to finish whatever, right? And we had a goal of top 10, and he won a race. So on the podium, I can't remember how many. Tyler Scott's quite good, U.S. kid. So I think there's some other sleepers. I think that the big problem is that in the U.S. is I think that a lot of the parents go, okay, well, I have to go to Europe to make my kid, allow my kid to have a career. Well, Tyler Scott went there, did Rebel Rookies, went to Spain, and then came back to the U.S. and went in here. Sean Dillon Kelly did the same thing. He went to Spain, he went to Rebel Rookies, did 3 seasons, spent tons of money, right? Had to come back to have a career. Came here, made money, turned around, worked on his, it's not like you come to our program and it's like, oh, we have a good bike. It's like, hey, bud, okay, you're doing good here. You need to work on this, and this on your fitness. Okay, well, here's your data acquisition. Here's your data acquisition compared to your teammate that's a lot faster. Here's how you use the data acquisition. This is how we're going to do this. Oh, this is what this setting feels like. And so when you come to our program, you may be pretty new and have some talent. You're going to leave our program a better rider, more well-rounded, more, better education. And you're going to be prepared to the next step of the career, right? So if Sean didn't go to the American racing team, right, to go Moto2, we would have had a contract on the table for him to race a Super Bowl, flat out. And that was the plan, that was the goal, okay? But I think that he needs to go to GP, and I think he can do well in GP. And if he does well, then he can go, maybe potentially go on a MotoGP, depending on, results. But I think it's there's something to be said to be able to get yourself into a program and get the education you need to then, go to the next step. Not very many teams in the paddock actually have a decent ladder system. I mean, we had Twins Cup, right, which that program went away after 20. It's a bandwidth situation. But I mean, I'm sure if we had somebody we really wanted to work with, we could fire the thing back up. We got competitive engines, in a bike, but it's the educational part, and then on top of that, sometimes dads have a tendency to run the program, parents have a tendency to run the program, and it's a lot different than when you're taking orders from your dad as opposed to taking orders from a third party that's properly accountable, that you're properly accountable to. Even the same thing with my son. Like, I have a great story about we're riding minis down at Josh's house one day, and I bring him down just, because I'm going to ride a little bit. And then when we're taking a break, we send him out and have some fun. And he's riding, and I'm like, hey, man, you got to use the rear brake. And he just like looks at me like, oh, dude, you're an idiot. And then the next lap around, Josh stops and goes, "Hey boy, you need to use the rear brake." Next corner, he was on the rear brake. And, you know, so it's why I have a great relationship with my son, but it was like, come on, Dad, I know bikes, dude, I'm 5, whatever. And actually, there's a funny story about that. I mean, Joe and Cal Crutchlow and Josh and Mel, we're all down there one day riding, and you know, I brought Van down there, and we're riding 100s and beating the crap out of each other. And you know, I had a decent motorcycle racing for 23 years, won a few AMA nationals, had some podiums, won some endurance championships, you know, general, right? We get done with that day. These days on these 125s, right? And running into, you know, Grand Prix guys and Josh and racing all these guys. We get done and Danny, you're pretty good. Thanks, bud. I took Torpedo and Kyle Crutchlow on a TTR 125. It's like, you didn't figure that out from my TV? Anyway, the point of that long-winded answer was that, like, sometimes when you go racing with your dad, you know, it's a different story. I mean, I did go racing with my dad, but our relationship was I'd been around the races long enough that I could, and our relationship was such that it was like, okay, I understand what he's trying to tell me. And also he was a pretty hands-off racing dad. He was more like, he'd seen the crazy racing dads, like, oh, look, dude, I'll support you in the background. I ain't going to coach you, you know, and I can tell you that's true because I went to every single school that was out there, and all the riders for his team, you know, if all struggling, he'd grab some riders from the team and say, hey, go help Chris. But some dads are pretty overbearing, and it can be difficult and hard in the relationship. So getting in a program like this, we can kind of push the dad aside. Hey man, go watch him, right? You can be in the pits, you do whatever, go chill out. We got it. And then we can take them to the next level on that, but provide a pretty well-rounded education and prepare them. Like, you know, I think we're going to see that Sean's jump into Moto 2 is going to be a lot less drama than most because of the education he got over here in the United States. So granted, the Italians and the Spanish and all that have a big, you know, big programs like that. And in fact, I mean, I think that they just raised the age limit, you know, all that hoo-ha about the age limit going up to World Championship races. And I can't remember I have to look at the actual rule, right? But, you know, requiring these guys to be 16 and some of these junior categories be, you know, raise the age. You know, some people were a little bit disappointed about that, but if you actually look at it, nuts and bolts, it's going to help America the most because it takes away the advantage the European countries have over us in terms of the farm team and the farm program. So it limits them, and actually it falls in line for what America's actually doing right now. So I see that as a good thing for the United States and globally too. I mean, because I don't think, like, man, I know I was racing 125s when I was 16 years old, but I
think their biggest advantage is they're racing in their backyard, right? It's like us racing in Fontana, right? You take a 16-year-old Italian kid against our guys in Fontana, it doesn't stand a chance, right? So it's the same thing there. I mean, they've been racing on those tracks all their lives.
Yeah, but they also have a few-year advantage, you know, jump start, right? So they have a couple, at least 2 or 3 seasons where they're on that higher displacement motorcycle because they can be, you know, and then our kids get on those things and we go, you know. So now that takes that advantage away. So, and I think that's good too. I mean, I think that the age correct age and skill set correct displacement is important, right? I think that, you know, so I raced 50s and 80s when I was 13 and 14, and then if I was big enough and could figure it out right, I got to kind of taste the 125 as 14, but then I didn't get to go racing proper against national guys until I was 16 years old in a really high competition situation. So I think that kind of progression is good. You know, it's you know especially like if if you got kids, you can see the age difference and the maturity level between my 12-year-old version of my son and a 13-year-old version of my son. And I'm sure as he goes to 14 and 15, there's a big difference in that. Even my daughter and stuff, and you see in youth sports too. You play against this kid or that kid, or whatever age they are. It's pretty gnarly. But it's just there's a different mindset at this age than that age, and reality and life experiences come in. It's like, oh shit, I can actually get killed doing this or maimed. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to put that guy in the dirt. I mean, some people do.
I was going to ask you. I mean, your career is just a string of freak injuries, right? Shoulders and everything else.
Yeah.
And what's your plan of keeping your kids and the next generation a little safer?
I mean, I think we have some big technological advances right now. You got the airbag suits; those things are badass. Like, man, if I had an airbag suit back in 2001 when I blew my shoulder out, when I first started my shoulder injury problem, maybe that wouldn't have been the case. I mean, I'm missing half my collarbone, but like I did it to myself, crashing motorcycles. When you look at some of this stuff, you kind of look at, the fun part about being team manager guy too, and being journalist. You kind of look at through careers and get to work intimately with different riders. You got a guy like Valentin Davis, who he hit the ground hard, and he got hurt. That thing at Daytona, concussion, broke the back, and again another concussion, and had some, when he would hit the ground, whatever the way his body is, he have some type of injury. And I was the same. I hit the ground, I would screw something up, and it doesn't matter if I did yoga or muscle stuff or whatever. I'd splatter. Bobby Fong, you could launch that guy wherever. He'd bounce, boom, 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 boom. I'm good. Well, that hurt. Can I have some more Advil? Okay, I'm good. I'm ready to go. And it's kind of luck of the draw, man. And some guys you see, they can just, like Steve Rapp was one of those guys. Rapp, dude, he could crash some stuff, get up.
Wow.
All right, I'm ready to go. And I'd do the same crash and just be like, oh, I'm done for like 3 races, I think, because I broke my collarbone again or smashed my head or whatever it was. So, maybe it's body type or whatever. I don't know. Body type, luck, genetics. Some guys crash really well, some guys don't. So I was not a guy that crashed well.
Yeah. So, but again, fitness, flexibility, you can, whatever body type you have, you can help yourself, right? That was a big art.
Yeah.
Speaking of fitness, Nabil, what's going on with the push-ups?
I've done one already.
What?
99 to go.
So to everybody that listens, when we approached Chris said, "Yeah, I'll do the podcast if Nabil does 50 push-ups." So I said, let's do it on the air. But
we'll just post them. I'll do 50.
I'll do 50 too. I just did.
I'll send you the video.
Yeah, I did chest on Friday at the gym, so it's a little sore. So I'll do 50.
You
All
can
right.
get if you need a warm up, and if you're gonna go full turkey, that's fine. But if you need a warm, you got 10 warm ups, and then you can count your 50 straight.
Nah.
I'm not even sure I can do 50 straight right now.
I need a month of warming up here.
Fine. 100, however you get them, right? 10 by 10, 5 at a time. Who cares? Just get there.
Wait, I thought we were gonna do them now.
Oh, I don't know.
No?
You do them now?
You can't really hear.
Huh?
You can't really hear them for the people listening.
You can describe.
I'll film my 50 and I'll send it to you guys for your
all right.
for your socials. I'll tag you. I'll post them in my
Do
socials.
the same. It's the deal. We'll post it.
Yeah.
Bunch of old dudes trying not to do push-ups.
Yep.
Hey, look, it's good. It's good for you. Push-ups. If you're going to talk about an efficient exercise for going and riding a motorcycle, I believe push-ups is very, very efficient. It's good. It's all around. Gets your core, gets a little tiny bit of your legs, gets your arms. It's a good solid exercise for going and riding a bike.
Now, when you do the push-up, do you dangle the leg also?
No, I have one of my arms is shorter than the other, and I'm missing a collarbone, so my form sucks. But,
Ouch.
whatever way I get them done is how I get them done.
Man, what is up with that leg dangle? Does it really help? I don't know.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff, right? You actually, someone had a really good explanation of that, but I mean, more or less, it gives you another avenue um, to control the way your body position is, your weight is positioned, right? So you put it out by the front of the axle, you know, it kind of helps calm the bike down a little bit. But I mean, I wasn't a lane dangle guy, you know. I mean, if I get in hot, I'll hang my foot will come off the peg and I'll hang it out. But like, I'm not, you know, some guys do it for go, some guys do it for show. But look, if it works for you, that's cool. But you know, if you're not in the MotoGP paddock or what Superbike or Motoamerica, it probably ain't helping you.
Yeah, I always thought it was Rossi trying to psych out everyone, and
Could
they're
have
all
been.
following. Like, remember
Yeah.
when Doohan couldn't move his leg and he put the thumb brake, and all of a sudden everybody put a thumb brake, and like, wait a minute, it's the guy can't move his foot. That's what's going on here, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
He's going fast. I'm going to do the same thing.
Yep. You know, or whatever magic juice he's got,
Yeah.
go copy it till you start winning.
Yeah. It's funny.
Right.
This morning I watched MotoGP race from '92 when before Doohan hit his leg, and he was riding. You know, he was riding regular. He wasn't up straight or leaning the other way or being crossed. He was, you know, riding like a MotoGP rider.
Oh yeah, at the time,
Yeah.
during that time,
Before he
yes.
got injured, right? After he got
Yeah.
injured, he changed everything, and everybody went like, "Oh, he's going fast. I'm going to do the same thing." It's like, no, he just can't move.
Yeah, he always had that type of, you know, the style back then was always was a little bit more upright, you know, but it's just based on tires and tire stuff. A lot of guys too, I think on the body position thing, they have a tendency to hang off too much. They hang their lower body off too much than hang their lower body off more than they need to, just to try to, you know, copy the GP guys. But really, if you look at them, the nuts and bolts of that, and you look at like how much Rossi's hanging off, how much um, Marquez and all those guys, it's like half a cheat, you know, and that lower part of the body helps load the motorcycle, and the upper body, you know, helps you manipulate things and rotate the bike around. People don't really get that very well, or it's taught poorly. So,
It's about looking cool, man. That's why we
yeah.
ride.
Yeah, you do it in front of just on the turns where the camera guy is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time I drag my elbow is when I'm on the ground. Unfortunately, I'm not that cool. So, anyway,
All
all
right.
right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys. Chris, thanks so much for your time. That was great talk.
Thanks for having me. I'm gonna call you guys about YouTube channel stuff.
Thanks.
Step it up.
Thanks for showing
We'll
up.
do more. I think we still talk about in the future too, so we'll do more hopefully.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I see you guys. This is January, March at the fast track.
My bike's still being built.
Dude, March. It's in 2 months.
I don't know, man. It's been at Kerry's shop for 4 months now. So he said he's still waiting for an engine stand. Maybe you should send him an engine stand, so he gets
Which
going.
one?
I got a 2021 Gixxer 1000. He needs an engine stand. I don't know what he's gonna do to the engine. He says he's waiting on it from his friend, but I don't
It'll
know.
be good. It's a hypercycle bike, right?
Yeah,
He does a good job.
it'll be faster than the rider, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to
Right.
carry a lot. Good. Back in the day. Yeah, well, cool. Well, hopefully
All right.
see you guys out there.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, that was great. We get to see.
Thanks.
All right.
Talk soon.
Bye.